Hey, what's up guys? Jeff here with Godbold Exotics. As you guys can tell, I'm standing outside of Grant Garton's new pet store. This is GX3 Reptiles. You guys may have seen him around the Sacramento area vending, but he had just opened up this pet store. Got a lot of really cool stuff inside, so let's head on in and check it out. So I'm here with Grant and wanted to talk to Grant a little bit about what went into opening the store up, kind of his vision with the store, and then we're going to get into some of his own personal projects and some things that he's brought over into the store. So
when I first got into reptiles, I was a little kid, you know, I used to go around the neighborhood and everything, catching bugs and snakes and lizards, whatever I could. They used to call me Bug Boy in the neighborhood. And then as I got older, I wanted to get more into his stuff, and my mom would never let me have any reptiles. So look at me now, Mom, I've got all of them. But no, but seriously, it's just something I've always been into. I've always been super passionate about. I've always wanted to open up my own store, and I thought it'd be cool and work on some of my own projects. This is actually a pair of Philippine sailfin dragons that they bred for me many times in the past. I have some of their babies right over there. This is the female, this is the male. You can see all those blues and stuff. He's a stud. And these guys are pretty old. They're getting older. Slowing down a little bit on the breeding, but still pretty consistent breeders.
So these guys spend a lot of time in the water, I would imagine.
Yeah, they do. They'll use as big a water basin as you'll give them. I use just a big storage container. The thing is though, you have to change the water daily because they use it as their bathroom, which is really nice though, because it makes it easy to keep their cage clean. It's really hard to get the colors of the females on camera, but I mean, it really is like a gold, almost like metallic. She's getting jealous, and there's another girl in there. That's the side girl. They're pretty arboreal. They like to climb. They don't bask a whole lot, or at least not at high temperatures. They'll bask at they always pick like the medium ledge, just from one of my observations. Usually around like mid 80s is where they like to kind of hang out.
So in the wild, are they hanging out like around mangroves and stuff that are overhang, like over water and stuff?
So that way if something spooks them, their natural reaction is run. That's why if something scares him, he's just gonna wanna run, because what they would do normally is they would dive straight into the water, swim away. So he's got a little scarring right here and stuff. I actually got him back in, I believe 2011 as an adult, and he was in pretty rough shape. Somebody had him that couldn't take care of him, so he's missing a few toes. He's got some scarring and stuff, but after a couple years just getting him back up to speed, he started breeding and doing really well for me. And that's how I got all these. I got this trio as adults back in 2011, and they've done really, really well.
They look prehistoric, just like a dinosaur.
Yeah.
But like the blues and stuff around the mouth, I mean,
yeah, they're one of my favorite species. Almost
iridescent.
So this is a young male here. You can see he's starting to get the blue coloring and stuff, starting to get that fin on the back there. They're pretty good size. This guy's almost a year old already, so not quite a baby, but he's getting some size on him now. And you see there's a female in the back there.
At what age do they start to develop the fin and everything? It looks like he's already starting to get it on his tail.
Yeah, he's just starting to get it. I would say, depending on how they grow, 6 to 8 months, you can start really telling which one's male, which one's female, be based on the actual color and the sail fin growing in.
So what's the diet like on these guys? Does it change from juvenile to adult?
Absolutely, yeah. It starts out, they eat mostly insects and some greens and stuff. I usually like to get them started on chopped blueberries to start getting them into some vegetation and stuff. They love blueberries, so it's an easy transition food for them. And then I'll chop up some romaine lettuce. They seem to do well with that. And then once you get them to start eating that regularly, I'll go to some Zoomed grassland tortoise diet or some Missouri tortoise diet, something like that. And then I even will sprinkle on some Pangea crested gecko diet on there. It's a high protein, it's got a lot of vitamins and stuff in it. And I'll do that like once or twice a week, even for my adults. And it seems to fatten them up a little bit, and they do really well with it. You can see this nice fat little guy here. But they still eat insects throughout their life, but you want to limit it. You don't want to feed them too many.
How long is it going to take for an animal to get from that size to the size of the one you just had in your hand?
Probably 2 more years.
Okay.
Yeah, about 3 years to get full grown.
So this is about a yearling here,
yep.
And those there, yeah, it takes about 3 years for them to get to adult size.
They really, once they hit this size, they seem to really pack the weight on, because they're not as shy. They, feeling more secure. They eat bigger meals, and they just start packing on, and they grow quick. They grow really fast.
So as you guys can tell, we're holding a black-headed python. Same genus as the Womas, Aspidites. Maybe you could talk to us a little bit about your blackhead project.
Yeah, I've got I only have a couple females. This is one of them. She's the more handleable. The other female I have tends to just bite your hand, so she's still in there. We can pull her out later if you guys want. But yeah, this is a product, one of my favorite snakes. I really fell in love with them when I went to Australia a couple years ago and got to see them in Australia, and I came back and immediately had to get some. And really interesting, their personalities are a lot different than any other python that I've worked with. They seem pretty intelligent, almost like a lizard or something. You can see their brain working.
Right. So like I have Womas, and my Womas, I kind of like relate them to Cribos a little bit. Like they're cruising, looking for stuff during the day. Are blackheads like that as well?
I'd say, yeah. They're definitely a lot different than a Woma, especially just the way they don't really strike. They just kind of grab onto their food and they wrap, versus like a Woma will kind of strike and stuff. But also they're just different. I mean, they have a different personality, and I've got some Womas in there. I've actually got eggs cooking too, so I've got some Womas will be hatching next week.
So what are we holding here?
This is a Bismarck ringed python. Definitely one of the most beautiful pythons in my opinion. Especially as babies, they're bright orange. I mean, like Halloween orange and black stripes. Really cool. But even as adults, they get this really cool iridescence. Definitely one of the more different pythons. They act more like a colubrid. They're very bitey, I guess you could say. I'm surprised I haven't gotten bit yet, but definitely a beautiful snake. And this is a big female. They get bigger than this, but she is breeding size. I have not had luck breeding these yet, but she's still young, so hopefully next year I've got 1.2 ringed pythons that I'm working with.
Awesome. So these guys, you got to keep them pretty humid, I would imagine?
Yeah, I keep all my pythons pretty humid for the most part.
Okay.
To make sure they're shedding good. I've never had a problem with humidity on these guys. I know some people say that it's an issue. I mean, I guess my snake room stays pretty humid, so it's never been an issue, even when they were babies.
Awesome. Man, they are so pretty. So these kind of yellow gold bands are actually really bright orange as babies, kind of like what he was saying. So if you catch them in the right light, you can see this iridescence.
Yeah, belly.
Yeah, look at that. That is amazing.
Squeezing my hand there. And these guys are great feeders. They'll eat anything. And they're very small as babies too. I mean, really small, like a corn snake.
So we've got some star tortoises here. I'd like Grant, tell us about these.
Yeah, star tortoises are one of the most beautiful tortoises in my opinion. These are actually supposed to be Sri Lankan, so I don't know. They're an Indian star though. And these are big females. So this is egg laying size. These are adult females. One of the tricks with these guys, in my opinion, is not a trick, but the way that you need to keep them when they're babies. A lot of people have failure and they die as babies or whatever, and they can't figure out why. Humidity doesn't kill these guys. Cool temperatures and humidity kills them. But when they're babies, you really need to keep them humid, but you need to keep them hot. Like I keep them no lower than 78 degrees ambient all the time as babies. And it goes up to like 85, just ambient air temperature, and really, really humid, because these guys will dry out like in a day. So you need to really watch the humidity on them, make sure that they've got fresh water all the time. The babies are not as hard to take care of as some people make it sound, but they've got to have that water source, because they will desiccate, they will dry out, and they'll die.
One thing I think it's important, I know a lot of people when they're working with tortoises and stuff like that, they freak out and they think that there's pyramiding and all that stuff. It's one thing you want to avoid. These guys, it's kind of a natural trait that they have, right?
Yeah,
they get a little bit of pyramiding. This isn't something that necessarily represents an unhealthy tortoise.
Yeah, I mean, I keep them pretty humid, but you can see that there is some, and it's probably not the best shell growth in the world for a star. but it's that I would say that's pretty common, especially on these stars.
Yeah, it seems like I see them quite often with a little bit of pyramiding.
Yeah, especially from my collection, the females, the big females, they seem to get a little bit more. My smaller males seem to be a lot more rounded shell.
Huh,
I mean, it might just be because of the fast growth with the females that they get that, but that's just an observation.
And so, are these typical of other tortoises? Like with the males, they have the long tail and they have the concave.
Yep.
What is this, a plastron?
Yeah,
plastron.
Yep.
Sorry, I'm not a tortoise guy.
Yeah, they're pretty typical, easy to sex. You can see little tiny tails here on the girls.
Right.
And the males will have a big tail. And when the males avert, it's very, very obvious. I mean, that thing's like an alien coming out.
And then they'll have a curved plastron so that, like, if this was the male, he would mount the female so it's curved right here to help him, you know, be able to breed her easier.
Yeah. You see the plastron there, it's pretty cool looking.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Kind of the pattern carries over.
Yeah, and they're heavy. Things like a brick.
Yeah, it is.
It's a little lighter now.
They're solid. I've always loved the stars.
Yeah.
Really, really pretty tortoises. Black dragon. So what are they?
So just a type of water monitor. It's a recessive gene. This is a captive born from Vital Exotics Black Dragon.
Okay.
I got her as a hatchling, and she actually has kind of an interesting story. She actually got egg bound. She produced eggs when she was very, very small, and never been with a male, and produced eggs when she was small. The eggs were so big that they got stuck between her pelvis and her spine, and her back legs became paralyzed. So I knew instantly something was wrong. So I took her to the vet at UC Davis, and they diagnosed what we thought, and she was egg bound. Cut her open, removed the eggs. We're actually able to save her sex organs, and
wow.
She cycles and produces eggs regularly, probably every 3 to 4 months.
So is the black dragon, is that a locality or is that a morph, or is it both?
Yeah, it's more of a morph. I guess you could say that's naturally occurring.
Okay.
Like the sulfur.
Right,
It'd be the equivalent of a sulfur, I guess.
This is a full-grown female.
Yeah, this is a full-grown female. She's not very big. I think it has to do with that she started producing eggs so young, and she still produces eggs all the time, and she just puts a lot of her energy into that, so she doesn't get that big. I've got a male that's the same age, and he's significantly larger.
Yeah.
A lot larger.
How many eggs do they typically have?
She usually has between 6 and 10.
Okay.
But she's not very big.
Yeah, and I've heard that the black dragons typically are smaller than the normal water monitors. Is that true, or is that just kind of like a? Okay.
Yeah, I think it just depends.
They're so smart. You can see her just like working things out.
Yeah.
For all you guys that are into Aussie monitors, we've got a Spencer's monitor right here, which I didn't even know you had these when I was on my way, you know, so these are really, they're not all that common in collections, right?
Yeah, this is probably the rarest animal I have in my collection. I really, really like them. Spencer's monitors are really cool. Her colors are really, really ugly right now because she's shedding, and they're a burrowing species, so you can see those claws are just super, super sharp because they'll dig burrows, and so she stays in the dirt all the time. So she's died from the peat dirt, but she
they're typically like, it's like a cream color, right? Cream and like black.
Kind of like where she's shedding out.
Oh yeah, right here.
It's just striped. I mean, like tiger stripes. It's really pretty cool. I mean, beautiful lizards, especially if I cleaned her up, which I probably should have done. But and these guys don't eat a whole lot. They don't seem to have as fast a metabolism as like the Salvadors and stuff. You see, she looks kind of fat, but she's just bulking up a little bit coming out of winter. But during the winter time, I basically don't feed them. I feed them very, very little. Cool them down and stuff, because where they're from in Australia, it actually does get pretty cool. Okay. So a little bit of a different species of monitor.
What temperatures are we talking about here? I mean, I could feel that's pretty warm.
Yeah. Still 130 to 140 basking, but they need an area that they can get cooler.
Right.
So they like to cool down and stuff. They don't go in their water a whole lot. but they will go in there sometimes, especially if they can't cool down.
See this, he's got a pretty big box in here. These guys like to dig, like he was talking about burrowing. So these guys are gonna dig down and excavate. So anybody that keeps these, they wanna make sure they've got a decent depth substrate so that they can dig around and kind of burrow in.
Yeah, and that's just water.
Yeah.
You can see how clean her water is because she doesn't really make a mess of it because she doesn't go in there a whole lot.
What we're looking at here, guys, is an albino tegu. Now, is this what species of tegu is this?
So this is a blue tegu. This is actually bred by Ty Park.
They're different from, I mean, they do have the red pupils like most albinos, but they seem like they're much lighter.
Yeah, there's always been debate about the tegus, if there's different strains and if there's the T positive versus the T negative. This is supposedly the T positive. I think that all the albinos are just variations of the T positive, and it's been proven that both the T negative and the T positive are compatible, which I think it's just maybe the natural variation of color within the tegu. So because I think it's the same morph.
Oh, gotcha.
Again, that's just my belief. These guys are still babies. But yeah, they eat a lot. They grow really quick too. If you want them to grow quick, they'll grow really quick. And I hibernate them, or brumate, so they basically shut down all winter, and then they wake back up, usually around March for me. I feed them a lot of wet cat and dog food, like high-end dog food. I feed them rodents. They eat some bananas today. They get some fruit, veggies. They'll eat almost anything, really. I mean, they're definite omnivores.
Well, we've got two species of turtles here that are two of my favorite species. So we've got the Central American wood turtles and the Chinese box turtles. How big do these guys get?
They're a decent sized turtle. They don't get too huge, but they are super active, so they do need a pretty decent sized enclosure. They're pretty temperature tolerant. They can get down into the 40s, no problem. Anything cooler than that, I wouldn't recommend, but at this size, they'll eat a lot of protein and stuff, and then as adults, they'll get into more of a vegetarian diet.
Awesome. So are you feeding these guys insects and stuff as babies?
Yeah, I'll feed them insects. I'll feed them, even at this size, they'll eat a little bit of like lean ground beef, something like that, and then just increase the amount of vegetation that they get into adulthood, and then they become primarily vegetarians, but they'll chomp on worms. They love worms, earthworms, chopped earthworms when they're small. That's one of their favorites. Same with these guys.
Yeah, I know and okay, so these are the Chinese box turtles. Mm-hmm. And these are babies, guys. These aren't full-grown adults. Maybe you could tell us a little bit about those.
Yeah, these guys are pretty hardy little turtles. They have a ton of personality. You can't really tell right now because they're just chilling, but they're really pretty quick for a turtle. Everybody thinks turtles are slow. These guys can get moving. And you could put some earthworms or something like that in their cage, and I mean, it's funny to watch them come out of it, and they'll start eating like crazy and stuff. They're really, really fun turtles. They have tons of personality.
Funny thing about these guys, now they can take a little bit cooler temperatures, right?
I wouldn't go too cool with them. These guys, I think, can go a little cooler. But yeah, they're box turtles. Most box turtles, they're pretty hardy.
Right.
Yeah, they actually make a really good pet turtle because they're fairly easy to keep, but they are one of the more expensive turtles.
Right. So these guys are going to get about, for an adult size, a little bit bigger, and those will get.
These will get. They're a little bit different because they're so high domed.
Right.
I mean, maybe about the same size, but a lot higher dome, so they're a little bit heavier.
Gotcha. That plastron on these guys and the pattern underneath.
These guys,
and the black.
Just the black, that gold head, man.
Yeah, that's awesome. It's one of the things, and you probably can't see it, but there's a little bit of an eye stripe on these guys. Yeah. It's one of the things that always attracted me to them.
I just dug them up, so they're a little dirty.
Now, are they sexable at this age here? I know these guys are pretty small here.
I can't. Some people that are better may be able to, but yeah, they're definitely sexable once they get a little bit larger, and you can tell on that tail.
We're leaving his place now. We're going to be heading back home, but Grant's one of those guys that I've actually known in the hobby for a couple years, since I moved to the Sacramento area, and Grant has worked with a lot of really cool species. He's not necessarily into all the the mainstream stuff. He keeps a lot of obscure stuff, as you guys can tell in the video. So I thought it would be fun to go in, and truth be told, I've been trying to get Grant on to do a video with him, do a collab for a long time. It's been about a year in the making. And when I found out Grant was opening up a pet store or a reptile store, as you guys saw, I thought, oh, dude, what better way to showcase Grant, some of his collection, than just maybe we could get in there before he opens. So huge thanks to Grant for opening up his shop to us. You know, the grand opening for his store isn't until Saturday, so he actually let us in prior to it being opened. So I'm really grateful to Grant for doing that. And if you guys want to get a hold of him, make sure you check in the description. We'll put a link and contact info for Grant. He keeps a lot of cool stuff. Since he has the reptile store, he has access to a lot of species that he doesn't necessarily breed, and he does buy, you know, quality animals. He's not buying just like, you know, stuff from like the flipper. So, I mean, as you could tell, all the animals that we brought out, a lot of those were for sale, and they're in really good condition. They're fat, they're healthy, they're eating. You know, he keeps stuff quarantined. It's not, you know, covered in mites or you know, parasites or anything like that. So you just, you know, you want to know who you're buying from. You want to get quality stuff, and it's kind of rare that you find that in a pet store. So anyway, Grant's contact info is in the description. Hit him up. He's got eggs cooking right now from Woma pythons. He's got some eggs in the incubator from some of his bloods. And he's got a bunch of stuff available that we pulled out in the video. So hit him up, and I'm pretty sure you'll be satisfied with the purchase. He's a great guy, very easy to get along with and talk to, and loves to talk shop and educate potential buyers, not just, you know, sell them an animal. So guys, thanks for watching. Thanks for following the YouTube channel. Make sure you subscribe and turn your post notifications on, so that if I post something or I upload something, you guys get a notification so that you can watch it. And hey, as always, we'll beat you guys next Friday. So thanks for watching. Peace. Garton. All right. I'm retarded.
Step. Okay. All right. Should we do that again?
No, you just keep going. He'll have it all.
When I first opened this shop, hold on, what were we talking about?
When it comes to this stuff, when it comes to animals, it's like whenever they're done, they're done. Yeah. Like, that's it.
Rudy will play all day. Like, I mean, she just wants to come out. All right, so. How's this one?
Oh, it's hissing at him. That scared the hell out of me.
One of the things about the adults actually look better.
Oh yeah,
like,
they get better with age.
Yeah.
They're like the prettiest of the
yeah.
Bulls, I think.
Oh yeah, yeah. And these guys are just little babies. They just like healed up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
80 bucks or something?
30 bucks.
Oh, they're 30?
That's 40 bucks. Oh no, sorry, they're 85.
I was like, if that's 40,
Yeah.
I'll take 2.